Hello, I'm Steve Woodson with Woodson Incorporated. We're going to go over the elements of basic machine maintenance this morning that's critical to the safe and efficient operation of work that we do here at Woodson Incorporated that will ensure that your job continues. The first thing that I do when I walk up to a tractor is just a general walk around to look at the overall condition of the tractor, to see if there's any leaks. That's why it's so important to park the machine over bare ground. If you park it over grass or wood chips or whatnot, you may not be able to detect if it's leaked any fluids overnight. So in the walk around, this just happens to be a track tractor. Just to walk around the tractor, as you're seeing if there's any leaks on the ground, if there's any components that have cracks or missing bolts or nuts on it, or sharp edges like this threaded bolt that's sticking out beyond the nut here. And depending on how often you run the tractor, you may want to get up under the tractor and inspect up underneath the belly pan, or if it's a wheel tractor, the running gear on it, to see if there's any seals on any joints that are leaking that will show oil residue. And there's not anything particularly scientific, but needs to be more thorough on your walk around. On your walk around, you need to look at your hydraulic hoses to make for sure that they're in good condition, that there are no hoses that's touching a sharp metal edge such as this right over here. I'll show you. Those particular hoses, as you can see, are on that sharp metal edge there for the frame for the ripper. Metal will win the war with rubber every time. And eventually that's going to rub a hole in that hose. And it's very simple. You can put a garden hose, you can put a piece of old water hose, you can put a piece of fire hose, anything to get this hose away from that metal. Whether it's your sharp edge or your flat surface, it really doesn't matter. That metal will always win that war. And this hose right here on this ripper, as you can see, has already rubbed through the rubber and is into the wire of the hose. There's no logical reason for this other than don't care. Make sure we check all our hoses, although they may not be real visible. You look around, poke around, but it's pretty simple. If you see a rubber hose laying on a metal object, make for sure that it has a cover put on it. And on your implements such as this, the ripper right here, make for sure the teeth are on it. And you may want to shake the teeth and make for sure they're secure, there's not any slack on it. First thing I do when I open the engine compartment is to make for sure that there's not any dirt around on the dipstick or the oil fill tube where there's been any vandalism, that they put dirt in your oil and such. Also, you want to take a look at your engine and make for sure that it's free of leaks as well, and there's not a lot of leaf and debris trash on it that'll cause an engine fire. First thing I do, if there is any leaks on the engine, that needs to be gone over with your project manager, your site superintendent, and the appropriate equipment personnel. First thing I do is I always carry paper towel with me. When you're checking your fluids on your tractor, you don't want to wipe them on your glove, because then your glove's going to be greasy and be nasty. You won't want to eat your sandwich after that. So you take it out and you look at it before you wipe it off, okay? And make for sure that you're checking it. Some dipsticks have One side is for the engine stopped and oil cold, and the other side is for the low idle or stop with warm oil, okay? And this side of the dipstick is for the engine running and at low idle with warm oil. On this side, you can see it's safe starting range with engine stopped and oil cold. And there it is in the safe starting range. Be sure that the oil is not overfilled, as it appears that maybe this is a little bit overfilled, okay? Actually, it's overfilled by about a ½ inch, so that's not good. So we need to, when we're changing our oil, make sure we don't overfill it. And should we, to get it to the proper oil level. Because having a crankcase that's full of too much oil is not good for the tractor. And if you want to make for sure that somebody really did check your oil, ask them where it was on the dipstick. Now I've checked it again, and it's about halfway down on the dipstick, okay? So maybe I didn't put it all the way down on the into the tube. So I'll do it again. And it's in the safe starting. Like I say, it doesn't hurt to check it twice. Okay, so your engine oil is good. There's no leaks here. This particular tractor, it's pretty hard to get to your fan belts or the belt that runs your alternator. But assuming you can, inspect the belt for any cracks and push on it with your finger, and that belt should not push back more than, you should not be able to push it more than a ½ or 3/4 of an inch. If you can, you need to tighten it. And then after we check the engine oil, we're going to check the water level in the radiator. When you're checking your water level in your radiators, make for sure that it is that the tractor is cold and that it's not going to spew any hot water on you when you open it. So always make for sure you take care of your top on anything that you're removing, and you can look in it and see that the water level is where you need to do, visually see it, and make sure there's not an oily residue on top of the water, which indicates you got an oil seepage into your cooling system, which is not good. Tractors like this, we need to have a lock to prevent vandalism on this, and you can put a lock in here and they can't get this off. It's same with your engine enclosures and your fuel. All of your compartments need to be locked. And on your engine compartments, while you're running the tractor, make for sure they're not locked in the case you do have a fire, that you can open the engine enclosure or put a fire extinguisher through some holes that you have on your engine enclosure. And then after I check the engine oil, the water level, and the belts, I'll start the tractor and let it start warming up. Make for sure before you start a tractor that your fuel is available. On an older tractor like this, the manual fuel shut off. When you shut it off, if you leave it like that, it shuts all the fuel off to the tractor. The next guy that gets on here may not realize that the fuel is shut off, and he was trying to start it till eventually he'll burn the starter up. So when you shut a tractor off, if you'll pull the fuel handle back just a little to where it's got fuel available to it the next time it started, that if it's not you, that you'll know. Even if you randomly have to turn the starter over more every time and then pull it back, your starter is going to wear out sooner. Make for sure that your fuel is available. On some tractors like this, you're going to have to, it has a preheater on it, and you're going to have to preheat your engine cylinders and it depends on how cold it is, how long that you'll have to heat it. And once your engine starts, the first thing you need to take a look at is your oil pressure, and idle it up just enough to at least have 30 pounds of oil pressure, but don't rev your engine up at all until it's heated up for about 10 to 15 minutes. Most of what I've talked about up until now is on basic machine maintenance. It is just on our basic machine maintenance card that you're going to carry in your billfold, that it applies to a lawnmower or a dozer or a more sophisticated machine that is on that machine specific daily checklist. Make for sure that you follow that checklist and make any notes on any items that aren't in good repair. If there's any equipment malfunction when you start the tractor or at any time during the day, make for sure that you let your supervisor know immediately that it probably will impact the production of the job, and maybe it will impact the safety of yourself or your co-workers. After we start the tractor and your operating temperatures get to be normaler and where it's warm, you want to make sure that you check your hydraulic, the level in your hydraulic reservoir. Here on this tractor happens to be right here on this screen, and if it's not showing in the gauge, you make him move your blade up or down and it will show in this sight gauge. Make for sure that you know for a fact that your hydraulic oil is at the proper level, and also at when the tractor is warm, to check your transmission fluid as well. Not all tractors have transmission fluid, such as the Timcos will only have hydraulic reservoirs. This tractor also has a separate transmission fluid compartment from the hydraulic. On machines that we may not use the light a whole lot, and it could be in the way of your operations, such as the boom on an excavator, you may want to remove the light and have a quick connect plug-in that you keep the light on the machine where it's less likely to be damaged. And also, it's a very good idea that you have an extra lights for the machine in case you're operating one at night and one is decides not to work. After your machine gets to an operating temperature, make for sure that all your gauges are working properly and that you know the maximum temperatures for, like, your hydraulic reservoir, the maximum temperature that it can be operated and not do damage to the pumps or seals. Likewise for transmission. Some of them aren't. Some of them, like this tractor here, it's got a red or yellow that would tell you that it's operating beyond its capacity. Some of them aren't that simple, and we need to make sure all of our machines, that you know that the maximum operating temperature for each one of our components of our machine. Very important part of operating a machine is its fuel level. You must visually check the level of your fuel when you're before you start operating the machine. It can be after you start the machine where it can be warming up, but you must visually check the fuel level to make for sure that you have enough fuel to do your work for that day. At the end of the day, it's important to prepare your machine for the next work cycle, which may be that night, or it may be the next day, or it may be the next week. To clean your machine sounds pretty basic, but we expect for your cab to be free of debris, all of your windows clean. If you have mud on your windows during the day, particularly Lexan or plexiglass, be very gentle in removing that mud. Just don't wipe it off and grind it into the window because it'll scratch it. And then on your plexiglass and Lexan, that you must use Pledge and apply it and wipe it clean, wipe all the excess debris, which will extend the life of your windows for many years. Only on actual glass windows may you use ammonia-based cleaners such as Windex or anything that comes out of a can. After your engines are at operating temperature, we want to make sure that we accelerate our engines gently and stop them gently. Just don't slam the throttle wide open from idle. That's awfully hard on every component of your engine and all the pumps and belts and such as that. On the engine shutdown, unless it's an emergency, let it cool down 10 minutes. If somebody walks up to your tractor and you've been running it pretty hard, just don't shut it off. Let it cool down. You can step off the tractor and talk to them. What happens is the oil in your turbocharger will cook, and it will destroy the seals and your bearings in your turbocharger. Also, at the beginning of the day, be sure if your tractor is equipped with a radio to make sure that it's operating properly. Also, check your fire extinguisher to make for sure that that the gauge shows that it's in proper operating range. The spill kits on the tractor doesn't have to be elaborate, but it should be in a hard case, bucket or such, with some oil absorbent pads and a garbage bag for that. Each tractor is unique and has its own supplies, such as fuel filters and such, perhaps some zip ties and some hose to keep our hoses from rubbing. At the end of the day, the housekeeping of the tractor to make sure your cab's clean, your tracks are dug out. In the winter, make for sure that your tractors are not parked on the ground, because they will freeze to the ground. To park them up on some wood or something off the ground. Make for sure they're not in a flood-prone area. Make sure that you park your tractor side by side or end to end in a very nice manner, all parallel. Don't leave your tractors where they're hard to get to. In the case of a rain, particularly your trailers, that we may have a call out at night and not be able to get to that. A very, very important part at the end of the day is cleaning out your air filter. This is an air filter. This happens to be the outside air filter. Most tractors have an inner air filter, which you can see right here, that's still bolted in the canister. And then this is an outer filter. When you change these filters, you should put the hours and the date on them, so we'll know how the age of the filter. And this will collect most of your dust and leaves and dusty conditions. And when you clean these filters, all you should do is hit them on your hand and never beat them on something like a hard surface like this track. For what will happen is it will destroy the integrity of the air filter. It can make it out around here where dirt will bypass these paper cores that filters the air. So never beat the air filter on anything except tap it on your hand. You may, with a low volume air compressor, blow inside the air filter from the inside out, which will dislodge a lot of your air. Never have a high volume air filter, because some folks have blown holes in these and destroyed the air filter. But with most of the air wands that we have, you can use a leaf blower or a low volume wand to blow these out. When you're replacing the air filter, make for sure that you have a good seal with this rubber end up against it, and that your lid here is secure with the bolts and they're snug on both sides. You also need to make for sure that the hose connecting the back side of this air filter canister between it and your air intake on your engine, it hasn't got any cracks or there's loose connections on it, because what will happen is air will be sucked in, not through the filter but raw out of the environment, and ruin your engine. That's called dusting an engine. The engine on these D8s here, I think, are about $40,000. Proper lubrication of your tractors are critical to the longevity of all of its components, like this Alamite right here on this blade cylinder. It has been greased and all of the excess grease has been wiped off of it, which is very critical. If you leave excess grease on your Alamites, it will attract dirt, and dirt will eventually work its way into these joints. Before you put a grease gun on each Alamite, make for sure that you wipe it clean. If you don't, the dirt that's on the outside of this Alamite will be pumped in here and will actually increase the abrasion of what you're trying to protect against wear. Here's an example of some oil residue on this track right here. Oil never gets there by itself. It's always from a leak, or perhaps somebody spilled some oil somewhere, but 99 times out of 100 it's a leak. So that's an example of oil leak. This just happened to be where this hose behind this blade cylinder that goes up here leaked, and the guys caught it. Make for sure all throughout the day that your tracks aren't excessively loose. On every operator's manual, there is a way to measure the tracks and a way to adjust them by adjusting this hydraulic cylinder here with a grease gun. Here's an example of a spot on the ground. I don't know whether it's oil or whether this happens to be water, but if it is oil, we need to get it up and properly dispose of it. But this is probably where a tractor may have leaked, maybe not, I don't know. A very important part of any tractor are handholds on the tractor to use the 3-point of contact to get on and off the tractor. Make for sure that your handholds are in proper repair, there's no sharp edges on them, and that you always use 3-point of contact, 2 hands, 1 foot, or 2 feet, 1 hands when getting onto the tractor. Don't put yourself in any position that you can't hold yourself up from. Many of our tractors are track type tractors like this Caterpillar D8 here. There are a lot of components to the undercarriage, from the pads to the bolts that holds the pads. These are the rails that are supported by the rollers. These are rollers here. They have top rollers, and then here on the bottom they have bottom rollers that you can see right here. All those rollers need to be, when the tractor is moving, rolling and not still. If they're still, there's something wrong with the roller and it needs to be inspected and perhaps replaced. This part of your undercarriage is what drives the tractor, and this is the sprockets. These sprockets don't need to be sharp on the ends. If they're really sharp, that indicates that they're about worn out. The sprockets are connected to your final drive, which goes to your up eventually to your transmission, through your torque converter, and onto your engine. So a good inspection of all these to make for sure that that all of the components are properly filled with oil levels and that there are no leaks. This is the idler, which is on the opposite end of the track from the sprocket that drives it. And all it does is hold the track in place and in tension. And the idler can be adjusted with a cylinder that comes in and out of your track frame here to keep the proper tension on your tracks, which is described, the proper tension is described how to measure and how to adjust it in the owner's manual. There are a lot of other components to the undercarriage, but basically it's bolts and guards that need to be in place. If there's a hole there that has a bolt that should be in it, it needs to be in it. Have all your covers properly in place, and with all the hinges as well as on your doors lubricated to where you can access it without beating and banging on it. And the All bulldozers have a blade on them, and the blades need to be in good repair. All of your cutting edges need to be intact with all the bolts on it. Most of our tractors operate in woody conditions, and we have screens on them like the rollover protection structure here, and the engine. Actually, these are sweeps here that keep limbs off the exhaust and off your windshield, and make sure that all your screens and your sweeps and all your protection devices on your tractor are in good repair. If they're bent, they're not supposed to be bent, and make them straight. And at the end of your work day, when you finish cleaning your tractor, make for sure that all compartments are locked and all power disconnects are off, and all your compartments, including your cab doors. We expect all of our equipment to be in good repair, including all of our sheet metal, including our bumpers, and anything that has to do with any of our equipment or trucks. When we have a bumper such as this that has been damaged for whatever reason, we need to figure out, A, what happened that caused it to be damaged, and if there's anything that we can do, like putting a rod here to extend where we won't catch a tree with when we're operating the truck. But if we do bend something, make for sure that it is straightened back in its proper form that it came from the when it was manufactured. This is our model Mac pumper. We have 2 of them, and we're very proud of them that we can use for a lot of different things to wash mats. The main reason we got them was to wash our tracks on our tractors at the end of the day, where we don't have to spend a couple hours digging tracks, and it's pretty demoralizing digging tracks on tractors for an hour or 2 when you've been working all day. And this we can use these pumpers to clean them out very fast. So we need to make sure that we take care of our trucks. We can see when this pretty bumper right here has already been dented. We need to make for sure that we have markers on the poles to where the driver can see the corners of his bumpers in tight spots. As I said at the beginning of this illustration, that the proper maintenance and safe operation of this tractor is your responsibility, and we do hope you take it as seriously as we do. Thank you.